You and I have heard rules for thee and not for me. Well, it's kind of true in the law enforcement arena. This headline from the Min Post, and I got this from the Steve Lato channel, Lato's Law. Minnesota police can no longer ask why a driver thinks they've been pulled over. Oh my God, there's going to be a real stiff penalty if they do. If they transgress that law, I'm telling you, something really bad's going to happen, which will give them some kind of incentive not to do that to you, right? An officer doing so, however, wouldn't allow for dismissal of a charge, citation, or evidence collected during the stop. So no, nothing's going to happen. But let's read on, because a lot of people are saying, hey, this is positive. Those are a step in the right direction over here. Many drivers across Minnesota have likely heard the same question asked of them by police officers during a traffic stop. Do you know why I pulled you over? You were lonely and needed somebody to talk to? No, really. Do you know why I pulled you over? Revenue's down and you needed another sheep to fleece? No, I'm serious. Do you know why I pulled you over? Because your roids kicked in and you felt the irresistible urge to pull somebody out of the car? How about maybe crime is down in our area and you needed to commit another roadside crime to bring the numbers up and justify your existence? Or maybe you just needed a frail excuse to justify your existence. How about this? You pulled me over because you haven't mag dumped in a long time and you need to get some target practice in. I don't know, officer. Why'd you pull me over? It's just a ridiculous question. And we also know that in the span of humanity, across the United States, in all 50 states, cops are just looking for a reason to pull somebody over so they can conduct a fishing expedition and find out what else they can get you on. I pulled you over because I was looking for a reason to actually pull you over. But as of 2 weeks ago, officers statewide can no longer pose the question to drivers that they have stopped and must inform them why they initiated the stop. And I'm sure that this is a huge barrier for cops and they're going to respect it. No longer are they going to say, do you know why I pulled you over, bucko? And it's the attitude. They just come, you know why I pulled you over? And they act all pissed off at your existence. The change in the law is one of many provisions, including in the Judiciary and Public Safety Supplemental Budget Bill passed by the legislature and signed into law by this governor at the end of this session in late May. The package includes millions of dollars in grant for services targeting crime victims, as well as changes to statutes ranging from traffic stop reform to law enforcement training requirements. I'd be interested in checking out the detail to that. According to the new language, a peace officer, well, no, it's a law enforcement officer because they actually believe that they are put here as God's heroes to enforce the law. Because, what is government? It's not eloquence. According to the founding fathers, it's not eloquence. It's not reason. It is force. And like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. They like to be called law enforcement because force is in the term that describes them perfectly. That's what they're all about. They're all about government force initiated against you to keep the world safe. And that's how they use cognitive dissonance to go to bed at night. What'd you do, Daddy? I pulled over like 23 people and issued 80% of them a $225 fine for jeopardizing public safety. Good job, Daddy. You're a hero. So according to the new language, a peace officer, let's call it what it is, law enforcement officer making a stop for a traffic violation can no longer ask the driver to identify the reason for the stop, but must instead tell the driver a reason, unless it would be unreasonable to do so under the totality of the circumstances. Well, you understand, Sarge, the reason I asked him why he thought I pulled him over was because the totality of the circumstances dictated that I should do that. Oh, okay, underling, no problem. We got you covered because this is the thin blue line wall of silence, and that's how we operate. An officer's failure to do so, however, wouldn't allow for dismissal of a charge, citation, or evidence collected during the stop. So what's going to happen to the officer if he does violate this rule of, hey, you can't ask him that question anymore? Absolutely nothing. This executive director of the Minnesota Chiefs of Police Association said officers opened with the question as a way to, kind of break the ice and start a conversation with drivers. Yeah, we believe you. We believe you, Mr. Director of the Police Chiefs Association. We know you are not involved in any kind of deceptive practices and training your underlings to do so in any way, shape, or form. You have our trust. But in recent years, many departments have moved away from asking the question and start the interaction by telling the driver why they are stopped. He said, yeah, we're just breaking the ice. We're just asking that question. Oh, by the way, did we tell you we're also conducting a fishing expedition and we want to see if we can actually get him on something to justify the stop? Quote, and this is from Potts, who is a member of the Bloomington Police Department for over 30 years with 12 years of those as a chief. So this is the top of the corruption barrel. There were some organizations that thought it put the driver in a position of self-incrimination, that they'd be admitting to something. And in an arrest situation, of course, that's not okay unless they've been read their rights. Really? Really? You're going to go with that? You don't want to start the conversation in a position where the violator, so you're already seen as guilty until you prove yourself innocent in the eyes of the law enforcer. The protectors of the servants see you as a violator. That's what the thin blue line is all about. It's us versus them, the violators on our side and the law enforcers, the heroes of society in your community on the other side. That thin blue line is a line of division between the haves and the have-nots, between the we got to follow the rules, but they don't have to. And if they break the rules, ain't nothing going to happen to them. So the violator, you don't want to start the conversation in a position where the violator has to make an admission of guilt or something like that. So it's just a more positive way to have the interaction with the driver of the vehicle. No, it's a more deceptive way. Let's see if we can be more deceptive. And if we choose not to be more deceptive, we can ask the question anyway, and there's not going to be any negative repercussions that falls into the lap of the law enforcer who broke the rule that they said they were going to abide by. I like how Steve Lato put it. He put it kind of like, get him out of the game on some kind of injury if there's no punishment that follows the breaking of the rule. It's just like this. There is no punishment that follows the breaking of this rule. Lawmakers in California enacted a nearly identical law that went into effect in January in an effort to limit pretextual stops or stops initiated by officers for minor traffic violations as a way to conduct investigations or search for evidence into their unrelated crimes. And that is what they do. They use the traffic stop as a pretext or as a justification to get themselves on, get the violator on something else, some other violation. Oh, is that a weapon you have in your vehicle? Hey, what's that in your back seat? Hey, I think I smell some funny stuff going on in there. You mind if I search your vehicle? Well, we're going to bring out the drug dog then if you don't want us to search your vehicle. And we'll extend this traffic stop, even though the Supreme Court said we can't extend the traffic stop, but we're going to do it anyway because you're not likely to be able to afford the attorney that it's going to take to fight us. We got the deep pockets, you don't. And so they conduct their fishing expedition, they run the numbers, and they always come out ahead because you know what? The house always wins. And in this case, it's the law enforcement house that wins against all of us nasty violators. Those types of stops have become controversial in recent years due to data that suggests police disproportionately target black drivers, which is a concern that was confirmed in Minneapolis by the findings of this investigation. This president of the local chapter of Communities United Against Police Brutality said the change in law is much needed to prevent drivers statewide from potentially incriminating themselves by answering the question. Even if they ask you, do you know why I pulled you over? You don't have to answer the question. You're not obligated to answer the question. So the fact that they would make a rule telling officers you can't ask this question and then not imposing a punishment if the cop breaks those rules, it's perfectly nonsensical. Gross said that she doesn't believe the new law will help prevent pretextual stops. You think? If there's no penalty, what would give you a reason to believe that it would prevent pretextual stops or lead to less instances of escalation during traffic stops because officers can still give any reason for a stop despite not being allowed to pose the traditional question. Oh, you're not allowed to anymore. You better not. You better not. Don't do it. I'm going to tell mom. In addition, the last sentence of the new language removes any repercussions for officers who don't comply. And then she states the obvious, quote, by saying the failure to comply with this statute won't serve as the basis for exclusion of evidence or dismissal of a charge or citation, then you're just saying to cops that even if they do this anyway, there's no consequences for it and they can still go forward with their bogus charges. I completely agree. Talk about saying the absolute obvious thing that you could say. Hey, we made a rule for all you cops. You can't ask people why they think they've been pulled over. Okay, what if they do ask me why I think they pulled me over? Well, nothing's going to happen. Really, nothing. So what's the use of making a rule that cops have to abide by when, if they don't abide by it, they don't suffer any repercussions? There's no consequences. There's no punishments. If you want to support this channel for free, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, smash that like button, share this video with everybody you know, subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel further, grab one of these shirts, become a channel member, but more importantly, know what your rights are and exercise your rights. I get it. Freedom is dangerous. The only thing more dangerous is not having freedom. Fight for your rights or you will end up losing all of your rights. I'll see you in the next video.